Hello and a very warm welcome to our second Inter Miami Roundtable. It's a show where we get to get some of our Inter Miami players a little closer to the action, closer to the fans who have serious questions to ask of them. Joining us today, a couple of season ticket holders, Kevin Osorio and William Brewer. We'll be asking questions of Wil Trapp and Victor Ulloa, the two guys that started in central midfield for the first two games in Inter Miami's history. You're already in the record books, guys. Thanks for taking the time to join us today. It's real simple. We're going to ask some questions. I've got a few questions from other season ticket holders who could not be on the call, but they want to have their voices heard and their questions answered as well. The first question is actually going to come from me, and we'll go to you first, Will, but I want both of you to answer this because it's been a couple of tough losses for Inter Miami against LAFC, against DC United. Which one felt more bitter? Which one hurt a bit more at the end?
It's a good question, Dre. I mean, I think losing is always bitter, to be honest. But if I have to look at the two results, I think the DC United game maybe hurts a little bit more because we were winning the game, because we had control. We go up 2-0, the goal gets called back, and then we basically have, I'll call it 5 minutes of kind of a loss of mentality and focus, and that's all it takes in a game, truly. So I think we're a little bit more disappointed, a little bit more embittered in that game than the LAFC game, because I felt like the LAFC game was more back and forth, more open, and it's an opponent that we knew was going to be difficult. Whereas the DC game, we felt like, hey, we're winning this game, and we should hold on to win the whole game.
Victor?
No, I think I have to agree with Will. I think the DC United game hurt a little bit more. I think that we were controlling the game for the most of it, and like he said, going up 2-0, getting the goal called back, and then I gave up PK, and then giving up the 2 goals in 5 minutes. It was just a loss of focus, loss of concentration, like he said, and it's just a game that we thought we could have got much more from.
Yeah, I think you're both being a little humble in saying you were in control of the game. You were dominating that game up until the red card. But we're going to move along, and we're going to get our first question from a season ticket holder. Kevin Osorio is with us on the Zoom call. Kevin, take it away.
All right, how you doing, guys? My question was, what adjustments do you both feel that need to be made after starting the season 2-0, especially as, you know, the backbone of the team? You guys hold the middle, and, you know, that's where the playmaking gets started. So what do you guys think needs to be done going forward?
Do you want to take it, Vic?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's a great question, Kevin. I think we have to look objectively at what good things and what bad things happened in both games, right? I think you look at the first game against LAFC, and what we did well was we were able to initiate pressure. We were able to make the life difficult, from especially from Victor and I's position against a talented midfield in LAFC. And I think into the second game, we did a better job even at 10 men of pressing and controlling the game in that regard. And I think a big part of it as well is, okay, yes, we're talking about pressing and defensive things. How can we now control the game and be a little bit more clean with our combination plays to stifle the other team? And I think that's something in both games is an area where we as a group can dictate more rhythm, more tempo, and generate attacks in more ways than just counterattacks and high pressure.
Victor, you want to pick it up from there?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just echo some of his thoughts. I think we really progressed from the first game at LAFC. Like he said, that game was a lot about emotion, a lot of energy. It was our first game ever as a group, and I mean, we saw that on the pitch. Everybody was running like crazy, and we were pressing, and we made it difficult. We knew that they're a great team, and we were thrown right into the fire from the get-go. But then into the second game, I felt like the group really grew in the offensive part. We like you guys said, we dominated the game in the first until the red card, and we had the ball. We were creating chances, and that's something that we need to focus on. Other than pressing and getting the press right, we need to be able to dominate and controlling the game a little bit and having more possession, especially in the attacking third and the opposing half. And that's something that Will and I, especially being in the midfield, can help the team and possessing the ball a little bit more, and sometimes being more patient and getting the other team tired. That way they get tired of pressing us and creating chances and scoring a lot of goals, which is what the fans want to see.
So I'm curious, actually, because we're talking a little bit about some of the things that the manager might have asked you to do, during the game when it comes to tactics and whatnot. And Diego Alonso is by no means an unknown to Major League Soccer because of his success in, CONCACAF Champions League and in Mexican football, but he was new to the league itself. And I'm wondering, what were your first impressions, that first team talk for Diego Alonso, the first meeting between you guys? What did you take away from, what were your impressions of him? We'll start with you, Victor, first. You keep ducking in behind Will and then building on what he's saying. So let's go with you first this time.
No, first impressions of this guy was, he's a winner. He has a winning mentality, and he's not only proven that with the teams he's been at, but he has that winning mentality. The first thing he told us is that the most important thing was winning. And he asked the group what was more important than winning, and it was preparing to win. So, from day one, he's instilled that mentality, and he wants us to have that winning mentality, and that we can defeat anybody. And even though we're a brand new team and new players, that we can create something special here in Miami and fight to create memories and to win championships and to give a lot of fans a lot of happiness and a lot of wins.
Will, what were your thoughts?
No, I won't say I'll echo all of Victor's statements just to have some parity here. But first of all, the idea of him being a winner is undoubtable. From the first time you talk to him, his competitive nature just seeps out of him, truly. And for me, I think the first team talk where we're preparing for a game, I think it was a scrimmage against Charleston Battery. And just the level of passion that he exudes on a daily basis, it bleeds into the players. I think Victor and I both can kind of talk about different coaches that we've had. And for me, this is the first South American coach I've had. And you want to run through a wall for him. You really feel that idea of we're going to do something special and nothing's going to stop us because our mentality is going to be strong. Our physical bodies are going to be strong, and we're going to work on that every single day. And I think he does an amazing job of that. He does an amazing job of looking at not only the emotional side, but also then taking the objective side of, okay, tactically, how am I going to set up my team to implement these things? And I think it's a beautiful marrying of the two. And it's been really, really good for me personally, and I think for this group to see.
I think for me, the first time that really sunk in, that competitive nature of Diego Alonso, was something he said with deadpan face. He said, "We'd like to win in year one, but we're obligated to win by year two." And so that shows you the level of ambition. We've got a question here from a season ticket holder who cannot be on the call. His name is Jeffrey Poole. He wants to know he wants to get into the weeds here, it looks like. What aspects of the tactical plan against DC worked best and that you look forward to executing again in the near future? So what worked out against DC United?
Vic, you want to go? You want me to go?
Go ahead, dude.
Well, I think, look, we changed the tactical plan in that game. We played a back five with wingbacks. So it was certainly different, but it was a way for us to try to pull the opponent's outside backs out of position so that we had our attackers one-on-one versus their center backs. So you have Robbie, you have Rodolfo, you have Lewis now attacking a center back instead of attacking an outside fullback. So I think you look at the first 30 seconds of the game, we created 2 or 3 chances right away. And then obviously, like we had spoken about just earlier, the idea that we were doing a very good job of controlling the tempo, controlling the rhythm of the game. And then obviously things change from a tactical perspective when you go down a man. But even in saying that, and Vic might touch on this later, just the idea of, we watched a video recently of when we were at 10 men still pressing, and the ability of our guys, the capacity of our players to continue to push and be down a man and create chaos for DC was really, really impressive. Diego was foaming at the mouth. He was so excited by that stuff. But I don't know. Things that could be improved, obviously keeping 11 guys on the field, massively important. On top of it, I think if we could score a goal, the second goal sooner in the first half, then we really, really put things to bed a lot better.
No, and I think to add to Will's point, one of the things that helped us was we did change to the formation on that day, and it gave us more security, especially the midfielders, me, Will, and the 2 wingers, to press forward more. So usually we're worried about a guy behind us or a guy in our pocket, and having that extra center back in the back really allows us to have that freedom to press forward. So we were going after it, and by doing that, we created turnovers, and that's where we were creating that control with the ball that we didn't have in the first game. And I thought that was a very crucial point and very important piece that Diego got right, because he was the one that changed the formation during the week. And This guy's a genius. He studies the opponent like no other. We watched video and we were prepared that game. We were ready and we showed it. We were dominating and like Will said, even with 10 men, we still had our center backs jumping lines and pressing, and it gave us the freedom to go after it and to try to get the result, which we feel like we almost had.
Victor, you talk about having the security of those, 3 center backs behind you instead of 2, and how that changes maybe your approach and your ability to press forward. Roman Torres is a known name in Major League Soccer. Obviously, he's done big things for the league. The other 2 guys, much lesser known, Nico Figal, who I think has raised some eyebrows with his play really early on, and Andres Reyes, good young Colombian defender. Can you tell me it is nice to have that extra security at the back, but they're 2 guys that you're almost still getting to know. So can you tell me about those 2?
Absolutely. You have an MLS veteran experience, a 2-time MLS champ, and then you have 2 South American guys that are ready and eager and hungry and young and wanting to make a name for themselves. So I think that we have the perfect combination. Roman is really outspoken in the group, and he instills that experience, that calmness, and that security for us as midfielders to push forward. We're always hearing him, especially he's always talking in Spanish a lot, so I hear him a lot, and he's helping me by giving me information where I don't have to look over my shoulders. And that's a big help, and they've done a great job. Nico has really surprised me and his ability and his eagerness sometimes to jump into the press. And sometimes I see him jump in my line, and I'm like, whoa, what is this guy doing? But it's something that we have to get used to. We're a brand new group of guys, and building that chemistry is going to be really important for us going through the season.
And Will, one of the things that I love about your game is you can spray the ball, man. Your diagonal passes, you can put the ball in the air and drop it exactly where it needs to be. But Diego Alonso, from the moment he came into the team, said he wanted to keep the ball on the ground, right? And so he talked about a lot of the training sessions at the beginning was keeping it on the ground. So to what extent have you had to adapt, or have you won him over with the sense that, listen, I can pick out that pass?
Yeah, I think for me, I really enjoy it, actually. I think the evolution of my game in Columbus was one that just was forced into having to play passes over distance because of my role there. But if I think back to time I was in school at Akron, we played a very possession-oriented style where everything was on the ground as well. So it's like connecting back to my roots in a lot of ways, which I think has been really fun. And you start to realize that we can solve so many more problems with the connectivity of being close to one another, to being calm and keeping the ball on the ground. I think that key aspect is in every single one of our training sessions, almost every single exercise within the training session. So I love it. I love it.
Here's a question from Jonah Andrade. Could not be on the call today, but he asks, after playing 2 road games to start the season, what has Inter Miami learned about themselves? So what have you guys learned about yourself heading into the rest of the season after those first 2 games?
Yeah, I think we've learned that we can compete first and foremost. We've learned that we can affect the opponent in every single game, whether they be the former Supporters Shield champion or another Eastern Conference opponent. We've learned that we have a ways to go in terms of continuing to stay focused, continuing to work hard through every moment of the game, and each moment being the most important. But there's so many good things that we can generate and look at from these 2 games. And obviously we just want to get back on the field and train and play. But looking forward to the home opener, I think we're a battle-tested team more because we're brand new and we've played 2 difficult games and shown some good things and some things to improve.
Vic, what did you learn?
I learned that we can compete. Like he said, that's the most important thing. Getting thrown right into the first game against the LAFC was truly a test for us to measure ourselves. And preseason is one thing, but once you get into competition is completely different. So there was nerves there. We were anxious. We were eager to get going, and that was truly a test for us. And I think we did really well. There's a lot of room for improvement, like he said. And we want to possess the ball more and we want to score a lot of goals, but going head to head against the best team in the league last year was really good for us, a positive note. And we had it. We could have walked away with the result. And then going to the second game, we all know what happened with that red card changed the game. But, we take a lot of positive things out of this. We know that we can compete against anybody. And although we started 2 losses at home, away, we know that this is a long season. We know that the MLS is a very, very long season. So what a great moment to bounce back and to get into our winning ways, and a home opener in front of our fans, which we were so excited for. We were so ready. We were prepared. leading up to that week. I mean, the nerves were there again, kind of from the first game. But like Will said, being on the road for 2 games and then coming back home is just, we want to give it to the fans. Miami has been waiting for this for a very long time. And what better way to reward them than with a big victory at home?
You, without a doubt, have had some hurdles thrown into the way of this franchise heading into this season. I'm waiting for like the plague of locusts and the biblical floods next. This next question is from William Brewer, and Will's on the call with us. So, William, you're up.
Hey, I hope y'all both are doing well, staying healthy. But so yeah, it's like y'all said, LAFC was like the best team in the league last year. So going into that as your first match as a club, were there more nerves, or was there more excitement, and what was your highlight from the match?
Go ahead, Vic.
No, I mean, yeah, absolutely. Great question. We were nervous, we were eager, we were anxious. All of it was in the mix. But I think it's good. I think it's a problem if you don't feel nervous or if you don't feel eager. Especially, I mean, I'm saying that personally. If I go into the game and I feel good and I'm not nervous at all, I find that to be bad, if that makes any sense. So going into that game, yeah, I was eager to go. You could see it on the other players. We were just waiting to get going. And once that they blew that whistle, you saw it. We came out flying. We were pressing like nobody's business. I mean, I don't have the number in front of me, but I bet that physical aspect of the game, and we must have been one of the top teams in the league. But it was a great game. We were so happy to have so many fans out there and to hear them in such a loud stadium. It was unbelievable, an unbelievable experience that I'll never forget. And we can't wait to be back home. We know that it's going to be truly amazing.
I'm curious, actually, about those nerves you mentioned at the beginning, because you hear it from veteran footballers who've been playing their whole lives. It's still, before a big game, I'm wondering what that is. Is it doubt? Is it excitement? And do you have anything that you do mentally? I think back to like Landon Donovan with the U.S. national team. He would smell the smelling salts before kickoff, and I think that was a way of counteracting that. Will, is there anything that you do to deal with that?
Yeah, I think to the first part of the question, you need tension to perform. I mean, I think it's a misconception that pressure is a bad thing, that when you feel nerves, it's a bad thing. I think that's your body telling you it's time to perform and we're ready to do this. And I think, like Victor said, if you don't have that, then you got bigger issues, honestly. I mean, I've known plenty of guys that go out there and they throw up before the game or whatever it is, just to get like that excitement, pressure, whatever, nervousness to kind of boil over to where they're feeling like ready to perform. And for me personally, we all look, every player has their own kind of rituals, whether it's putting on your left shin guard before your right shin guard, or tying your right shoe before your left shoe. These are just things that kind of give you comfort, I guess you could say, as you get ready for the game. And it's not like if you don't do it, it's the end of the world and you can't play, but it is something that gives you kind of a security for the match at hand. And I don't know, for me, I do the smelling salts as well, because that's a nice little pick me up right before the kickoff too. So
yeah.
So Victor, how would you describe that feeling that prior to kickoff, the nerves? Like, how do you put that into words?
I mean, I'm just excited to get going. Like he says, somebody once told me, I guess one of my mentors was that if you don't have that nervous, anxious feeling, then that's the time that he gave up soccer, So I like to see it like that. Whenever I go into a game, I always have those butterflies in my stomach. And things that I do is I hop on the field twice with my right foot. And then I smell some of that stuff too to give you a pick you up. So I need it, especially playing in the midfield.
Oh, man.
I'm going to start doing this before we do a show. Like the lights come
Seriously?
on. I'm just sitting at the desk. We're going to give it a try. Maybe even get it on camera. This question's from James Varney, who I don't know if James wants to ask it himself. So I'll ask for him. Despite dealing with some injuries, the team was able to generate many chances in both of those games. How do you feel about the chemistry on the attack? So you guys are just behind that attack right now, and they depend heavily on you. How do you feel about what you're seeing in front of you? Go on,
go. I think in preseason we worked a lot on defensive shape, on tactical awareness defensively, and the offensive part was really the last part of that preseason. And we were so focused on the other part that maybe we didn't fully work on it. And I think it's something that we have to improve on. From the first game at LAFC to the second game, you see a big jump. You see where the confidence of the guys are with the ball, and we know that the ability they have, our wingers and our playmaker and our forwards to get going. Even though with the injuries we've had, we know that this roster was built for the depth, and it was truly a test. To throw in a rookie in the first game as his debut against the support shirt winners is a lot on his shoulders, and I think he did really well. Robbie's going to be a great player for us, and it's just about getting that chemistry going, and that's going to take time. Right now, it's tough to do that because we're not on the field training with each other every day, but it's something that we believe in our attackers, and we know that once we get clicking, we're going to be fine.
Will?
Yeah. First of all, I want to comment Victor's comment about Robbie. I thought it was really, really impressive to see a rookie in his first game perform as well as he did, and then step into the next game and perform as well as he did up until the injury. He's going to be a important piece for us, I think, this year. But yeah, to the idea of the attack, I think, like Victor said, it really was. It's difficult, right? It's an expansion team. You have all these new players coming in, and I think the most important thing initially is to defend your goal, right? And have those concepts down so we are able to keep the ball out of the net, so to speak, as we're defending. And then as you build the methodology and philosophy of a team, I think that final piece is scoring goals. And I think a big part of that was getting all the players into camp, bringing Rodolfo in, getting Lewis Morgan in, getting all the wingers on the same page. And as you started to see into that DC United game, we were doing more of what we had planned to in terms of connectivity, more aggressive, interchanging and passing and moving. That is really what Diego wants. And I think the more time we have together, the more studying of film and concepts, it will only continue to improve, and we'll see more multi-goal games. We'll see the exciting football that we want.
Yeah, since you guys both brought up Robbie Robinson, I actually do want to ask you about him because I was massively impressed. You saw, game one, you saw that there were things there, right? But you also saw a kid who was playing his first game and wasn't putting it all together, but was showing real positive signs. Game two, especially those first 34, 35 minutes of the game, he was brilliant. And there, I remember one moment when there's a 3v3. I think he might have been the one who helped wins the ball in midfield on this occasion. There's a 3v3, and he did what I thought was a very veteran move. Instead of playing the ball out wide, he took on that middle defender, and he turned the 3v3 into a 3v2 that created a chance for Pizarro. So just, can you talk about his maturity? He's 21 years old. He was the number one pick in the MLS Super Draft. But I was really impressed with that growth just from game one to game two, where he seemed a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, I think, Vic, if you don't mind, if I take it, I think Robbie's an interesting player because
very interesting.
Yeah, he's a very quiet kid off the field, but when he gets on the field, he has this charisma and swagger about him that you wouldn't expect, to be honest. And he's very gifted technically. He's very gifted physically as well. And I think you see in these first two games his little bit of growth of the confidence in the manager to put him in the game. Truly, to start him in the first game and then to play him in the next game as well after a good performance. And he's one that just, I think, will continue to snowball good performance after good performance after lesson. And he will continue to be a very, very good player.
Yeah, no, I would add to Will's thought is that before we started preseason, we were in Florida and we were training. Some of the guys were getting together, and I remember the first training that Robbie came, I was really impressed with his ability to go one-on-one. How shifty he is, how fast he is. This is a quick guy. And I didn't realize it until I was on the field with him. And then after we were done practice, I remember that he asked Luis Robles that he wanted to shoot on goal and have some shots. And he was like, yeah, I'll stay and go. And, this guy was on it. He was clinical. I was really impressed. I remember it was me and Lee. We were stretching on the side, and we were just watching him finish, and we knew that he was going to be a big piece of this team going forward. And like Will said, for the coach to give him the confidence, and he definitely outperformed how the expectations that he had in those first two games. And we're proud of him, and we hope that he keeps working hard every day in practice, and we hope that he has a long and great career.
Awesome. So we got a few minutes. So we've got Kevin and we've got William who are on the call with us. You already asked a question, but if you have any follow-ups, now's the time, Kevin.
Yeah. what's the expectation going into the first home game? You know, us as fans, season ticket holders, I personally have been waiting to see this since the Miami Fusion, you know, left. I grew up in Miami. My family's here. We have basically almost a whole row for ourselves. Our expectations are high. What are your expectations as players for the first home game?
You wanna go, Vic?
Yeah, sure. No, hey, man, thanks for the question. And I know that Miami people have been waiting for this for a very long time. And the expectation is to win for you guys, to win for us, and to win for this team that has been waiting for a long time. And starting 0-2, I mean, the thing that we want to do is get into the Will column. And we know that the pressure of being at home and the anticipation of this game is so high, especially now after this delay that we have, this pandemic going on. I mean, we know all that, and we want to give you guys that victory, those 3 points. And thank you for being a season ticket holder. Thank you for supporting us in this team. And hopefully, yeah, our expectation is to win. There's no other thing and no other goal than to get the 3 points for all you guys.
So I've been to a game in Columbus. You know, it's great. But, you know, what's the style of play like? How is it different in Miami than what you would typically do in Columbus when you were there?
Yeah, it's a great question, William. I think for the longest time I was in Columbus, it was Greg Berhalter was our coach. It was a very similar in the possession orientation of the game, but not quite as I mean, Diego would call it tiki-taka as he wants to hear. So I think the first thing I noticed is something we touched on earlier, is that just the passion and the intensity of every training and every game. And I think that's a very beautiful thing that I had never been really exposed to on a day-to-day basis. I've played South American teams and you feel that. But when you're inside it every day, it's a different culture that I've been very impressed with. So I think that energy and passion to win every moment of the game is something that's different. I think the idea of we want to control the game defensively and with the ball in a way that's suffocating, to be honest, for the opponent. Whether we're attacking, we lose the ball, we counter press right away, or we're building up from the back from the goalkeeper. I mean, those types of things are a little similar to what we did in Columbus, but different in how the execution is basically done.
Yeah, Victor, you don't have to tell us how Will played at Columbus, but I do want to ask you one last question for the both of you, and it's actually going to be the same question about each other. And I just want to know, Will, what's your favorite? Because you guys are so close on the pitch together, you seem to genuinely like each other, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Will, what's your favorite part of Victor's game? Vic, what's your favorite part of Will's?
I would say first, for me, what I love about Victor's game is he is so versatile in not just being able to be a defensive midfielder, which he can do extremely well, but he can also make passes, provide assists, get into the box, score goals. I think, in preseason, Vic, some of the things that impressed me the most just from playing with you now after playing against you for so many years was your ability to not only generate attacks through buildup, but then press high, win the ball, and create chances that way. I think it was the Philly game. You won the ball up high, and then Rodolfo scored the goal. His comfort on the ball and willingness to be an outlet all the time. I think there's a big, brave quality, courageous quality in Victor's game that sometimes as midfielders gets kind of overshadowed by things.
On me, it's interesting you asked me that question. I think all these years playing against him, I've always, obviously as a holding midfielder, you always compare yourself and you always look at other players playing your position. And Will was a person that always caught my eye. I always enjoyed watching him play because he was so calm on the ball. And it looks easy, the work that sometimes he does playing out from the back, but it's a really difficult spot to be in. Whenever you're in charge of providing that outlet from the defensive half, from this defensive third into our attacking third is really difficult to do. And I feel that he's always been able to do that. And I mean, you said it earlier on the show, his ability to spray those balls and put them on a dime is unbelievable. It's something that I always try to mimic and to replicate. And I think playing besides him is a thing that I enjoy now. Now I get to compete with him in training every day and learn from him. And he's really smart with the ball. He places himself in, and he's a really smart player. He places himself in good spots on the field, always making and being available to be an outlet for the team. And I've been really impressed. And like I said, I have having him on my team because I can compete with him and I can learn from him. And I mean, he's part of the national team, and it's something that has been a goal of mine forever. And watching him play and now be able to have him by my side is something that I can measure myself with.
Brilliant. That's going to do it for our second roundtable. So thanks to Kevin and William for being on the call with us. Thanks to all these season ticket holders that sent in their questions. And especially thanks to Wil Trapp and Victor Ulloa for spending a little time with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, guys. Stay healthy and hope to see you guys soon.
Absolutely.
Okay,
God bless you guys.
We'll do it again next time.